90% of our life is problem solving. After losing my sight, I must say that I became a lot more focused. Maybe because I don't see visually, but my mind has become more focused.
Overcoming adversity. In this program, you're going to meet a very fascinating man by the name of Nguyen. Talk about adversity. This man lost his sight. John had to work through overcoming what is called adult onset blindness. Interestingly enough, after he lost his sight, he went on to build one of the premier travel and touring companies in Southeast Asia. John has told me himself, losing his sight was one of the best things that ever happened to him.
Of the choices made by humanity, to share one's gifts may well be the most surprising route to happiness and success. Gifts given and gifts received, each requiring a unique perspective to an opening where we find the opportunity of wonder. We bring you now on a journey with those who have discovered how to unlock the power of their unopened gifts.
So what happens if you lose your sight? Or something you cherish and you simply believe there's no way I can go on, I can't live life without this? I'm James McPartland. My friends, call me Mac, feel free to do the same. What I'd like you to get from this program, in each of the episodes we do, is to see how others have discovered their gifts, many times in a setback. What I'd like you to pull from this is ways to identifying your own gift. Use that gift to put a dent in the universe. One of the gifts we all possess is the power of interpretation, to apply meaning and data to the events of our life. What John Nguyen teaches us is the importance of the power of interpretation. John has a skill of many to ask, what's good about this? As he continues to discuss in his life the setbacks and the obstacles one has to overcome as part of the game of life, that one question, what's good about this, got him through his blindness, had him build this amazing company, create a beautiful family, and he today is probably one of the men with the greatest vision of almost anybody I've ever met in my life. So of the many things I've learned from John, and that I hope you learn from this episode, is the power of questions. John has two that have served him well, that I'm certainly learning from, and I hope you take away with you. A question: when something happens that we're probably automatically going to assume is negative or has less than positive implications, to stop, not to give a judgment, and ask the question, what's good about this? The second question that he's instilled in me, and I see in him, is when an event happens with the power of interpretation, he asks and teaches, and I certainly absorb, how do I use this as a force for good in my life? One of the great things about John is he's not looking for answers. Many of us go through life looking for the answers. What he teaches is the power of an inspiring question. That's one of the great gifts.
I lost my sight, yes. Thinking about when my sight was gradually going away. It was the hell, thinking about it. When the hemorrhage was coming out in the back of the eye, thinking about becoming blind. What is it? I could never imagine. No. Well, what could I do? How can I live? I'm going to lose my girlfriend. Or, I'm going to lose my life. Well, it was terrible. But, the moment I set my thinking, from that moment on, I felt a lot more, comfortable about myself and happier. I'm still luckier than, people who lost their legs, people who lost their mind. So they are always worse thing than what I have. So I should be happy. Why should I feel terrible? Well, I still have my mind. The pain doesn't bother me. When a bad thing happens, and there's always a positive side of it. So people forget about the positive side of it. So people don't see loss as an opportunity. That's, I think, that's very natural psychology of human being. So I think in my case, I just see, it's easy to say loss is an opportunity. How? I keep saying how, I keep saying what can be done. And yes, there's always light. To go through the bad experience, and then it comes out great. So I think again that it's positive thinking really helps big time. 90% of our life is problem solving. So if we're not positive, and it's very easy for us to get frustrated, and it's not good. Everybody lives one life. Life is so short. Why do people have to be frustrated?
So John has given us amazing gifts. He's certainly given me tremendous gifts. That's why we're on this program, to give those gifts to you. Of the things I'd like you to take from these segments thus far is the gift of choice. We all have choice. When something happens, it can be a setback or it can be an opportunity, and that's a choice. You can see from John, he's taken his decisions, made choices around opportunities. Second, what I've learned from John is the power of lessons. Setbacks are tremendous teachers if we allow them to be. We don't learn from success, we often learn from failure. What John says is when things get tough, when he lost his sight, when he's gone through challenges of building his business, he asked himself, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn? It takes amazing discipline and courage. He also has the power to ask himself and other people, when an event happens that's likely negative or disempowering or doesn't appear to be a gift, how could it be transformative in your life and in the life of others? What's the possibility? What could be new on the horizon? It's amazing he has the ability and the strength to see that way when most of us, losing a sight or something that we cherish, would likely shut down. I struggle to say, how could I handle it? I gain strength from his vision. The man without sight provides me vision. And finally, he reinforces time and time again the domain with which we have control, that we can change the screen on at any time, is how we think. Because how we think is everything. How we think leads to the actions, lead to the results in our life. What John does is he masters the art of thought. He has disciplined thought, which leads to congruent actions to get him the results he's looking for. And if he's not getting the results he wants, he goes back to the thought bucket to focus on that. Take these gifts and use them. They're the greatest things that have ever served me.
Yeah, I think, in life, everybody knows that we need to move on. I think we cannot change the past, but we can surely change the future. I think that's my philosophy. So I think, I think people need to accept more things in life. I think people need to be more open in life. If they encounter any difficulty, yes, that's a learning experience. I think that's all they need to see. They need to see, oh, this is a wonderful learning experience, rather than, oh, it was a terrible experience. Yeah, because again, everything has positive and negative, and people only look at the negative side. But if people are able to see things positively, and again, loss is an opportunity. So if people, experience difficulties and they move on and they see it as a learning experience, and I'm sure that tomorrow is better than yesterday. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah.
Vision is the art of seeing things invisible.
Even as I speak these words, they're a bit difficult to articulate. guess I'll call this segment, what we just saw, Gifts from the Darkness. You know, what John said to me on several occasions, and it really helps me to hear it frequently, is it's always darkest before the sunrise. An amazing perspective from a man who has nothing but darkness in front of him on a daily basis. He says to me, you don't resist, you accept. Resistance, sort of like an exercise, only tends to make the muscle stronger. Don't fight it. Understand what it is. And to that, be open. And what he says to me is, learn to manage the meaning. Yeah, I'm asking, hey, explain that. He said, things that happen in life, we give labels, or we have associations, or we give meanings to. He says, motivation is derived from meaning. When something happens, you have the choice, you have the power, you have the gift to apply a meaning that will serve you, your family, your community, your business, in the best interest possible. You must take that as the choice. The alternative is true darkness.
This is my own opinion and my own experience. I think sometimes in life people keep running and people don't know where they're running. You know, they keep going and they keep running. They're so busy with so many things in life and they don't stop and, you know, and sit down and relax and think about their life. And, you know, we're talking about, shipping from sighted to sightless. I mean, that gave me, God blessed me in many ways. So shifting from sighted to sightless, it gave me a really private moment, maybe 1 month or maybe 3 months. I don't remember exactly, but it really gave me, a quiet moment to think about what it is. And then from that point on, the moment I really understood what it was, and I moved on.
So life shift, what a great phrase for us all to consider, because the ground underneath us is going to shift constantly. You know, what John taught me in this segment or in my relationship with him over time is one doesn't have to change the destination. If you know where you're going and why, one has to be open to the fact that it might be a different path to get you there. It could be a plane, it could be a train, it could be an automobile, it could be a submarine. It's the destination to keep your eyes on, not the vehicle or the road that you are committed to, because it might require an exit on the freeway to get to that destination with a different vehicle. Certainly in John's case, that different vehicle was, how do I amplify my senses that are available to me since my primary sense of sight is now gone? He also said to me, practice. Now, okay, practice, what does that mean? He was talking about gratitude. And he said, many people say that, many talk about being grateful for what you have. He said, but I would describe it as a deliberate practice, as if a great athlete was going after a championship or a team after a championship. One has to be deliberate in their focus. And he suggested at the beginning of the day to recognize what you have. Now he says to me, and I believe, what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. And the things that you focus on can magnify in your life. You can see more of it, and I'll use that word see. And John says to me, with some frequency, is you have to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. The last thing I take away from this clip, he said, life shift will happen. In my case, it's quite tangible, and certainly by being on this program, you get to see some of the struggles, but the outcome that he got. But what he leaves us with is life shift should not deter one from life assignment. The ultimate gift you've been given, and the purpose of that gift in your life to do something magical and special. I hope you'll heed John's lessons.
After I lost my sight in 1998, the doctor said I won the lottery. I didn't think so at that time. It happened to 1 every 25 million people. So after I lost my sight, it was really difficult to begin with. I was 28 at that time, so I spent about 3 months doing nothing. Well, I said, wait a minute, I had to do something, I was only 28. So as soon as, I thought about that as soon as I had that thought in the back of my mind, and then, yeah, I started to become more determined. So when my mind accepted the fact that I am a blind person, and then I moved on. And the moment I moved on, everything had to follow that. Everything had to follow the, the dark life. But in Vietnam, it's impossible for a blind person to apply for a job anywhere. You can only do blind massage, or you can only do making chopsticks or toothpick. So I mean, that was one of the reasons that made me, set up my own company. Yeah, going back to 1999, so 3 months after I lost my sight, I decided to do something, and then, I wanted to form a high-end travel company. At that time it was a joke, because when I talked to some of the hotels there, and when they saw me blind, then they just laugh, guy, where do you find high-end travel and all that. So that's when I started. So I started in 1999 in Vietnam, and then branched out into Laos, Cambodia. As the name is, Trails of Indochina, you can see Indochina, was a French, for Vietnam. During the French time, it was Indochina, and Indochina was Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. So when I started, I thought I would only do Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. That was my hope. Mm-hmm. So, but of course that, over the time when the business grew, and I branched out, apart from Vietnam, I branched out into Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, Singapore, and hopefully in the neighboring destinations as well. And on the sales and marketing side, we have people in North America, Australia, the UK, Spain, Portugal, and Latin America. So that's the portfolio of Trails of Indochina. So today it's about 250 staff under Trails of Indochina payroll.
Mediocre minds usually dismiss anything which reaches beyond their own understanding.
What I take from this last segment and from my relationship with John is the power of the word why. What he says to me and what he does by example in his everyday living is if you have a strong enough why in life, you can do anything. You may have a place you want to get to, something you want to accomplish, but what will drive you day in and day out is the why. And he says, and it's true, we all experience it, you will have opinions of everybody around you as to what you ought to be doing with your life, particularly when you're a blind man looking to start a travel company. And he says quite simply, opinions are opinions, and their opinions are none of my business. I thought, wow, that's really powerful. And on that particular point, he does talk about one's power. It's not giving away your power to someone else's opinion that would direct your life in a more fortified way because of what somebody else says, but to own your own power, to understand what your gift is, and to use that as a force for good. And like a gift, as we mentioned many times here on the program, is John will ask. He asks me of myself, I ask you of yourself, and he certainly asks himself. What's the gift? What am I supposed to do with it? How do I give it away? Because what John will tell you is you don't get to keep it unless you give it away. That's pretty powerful. And lastly, John looks at this as an example. He believes others who have overcome or working to overcome setbacks, be it losing sight, losing hearing, losing a body part, losing a loved one, having cancer, that perhaps his example can be a shining light. Maybe as he would say, look, if I can, you can, to provide hope and inspiration for the afflicted, not to be caught up in the opinions of others, but to be caught up in the possibility of using their gift as a force for good. John is an amazing example.
There is no such thing as a great talent without great willpower.
What we're about to see is a broadened example of obstacles and what one has to overcome, not only in losing one's sight, but in the opinions of others who have to participate in our life in order for us to do the things that we want to do, to use the gift, to build the business, etc. Now you would know, or you may have experienced, anybody who's starting a business, it's tough. Obstacles are consistent. They always show up. And overcoming those obstacles is the quest to build that business. Now imagine you're like John, looking to build a world-class travel organization, and you can't see. How do you convince people that you've got the vision, that you know what they're talking about, you know what they need, if perhaps they believe you haven't seen it? So John has to have the ability to articulate what he can do for people. Now what John's got is magnified the fact that he would hire people, they would agree to come on board, and they don't show up. Banks would talk about lending him money, they change their mind. His competitors would have a field day saying, wow, you wouldn't want to give your business to a blind person, would you? Now, normal obstacles are one thing, but what John has overcome and continues to overcome is something that is far beyond inspiring. It's a gift.
It was really difficult when I started the business. I think, it's a learning experience as well. And when I started the business, I had nothing. I think, and of course, people didn't trust me. I told you one time that, people that I recruited at that time, I had a dodgy office. I had a couple of staff, and when I recruited, staff, they came in and saw my dodgy office, and they realized that this is a blind guy, and even they accepted the role and the salary that I pay at that time, which was not high. They didn't show up on the day that they were supposed to show up, and it happened to me 3-4 times. And I said, I went home and there were a few nights I couldn't sleep. I said, why? At first I thought the guy was not serious. But then I realized at the moment they saw me blind, they walked away, because how could this guy take care of me? Can he take care of himself first? And today, of course, I have a name in the market that people know, because when they come and work for me now, they check the company over me. We have a team. So I think the situation now is different.
You always pass failure on your way to success.
As I spend time with John and on this program, to me the gifts just keep coming. What I get from the last segment is the gift of perseverance, that the obstacles are going to come. It's a question of how committed you are to your cause that allow you to push past almost anything in your life. What John also shares is when he was not getting the outcomes he wanted, the results he wanted, when people weren't coming on board, he had to pull back and say, what can I do differently? How am I responsible in that? And what approach might be more effective on the next go-round? It wasn't woe is me. It was, okay, I need to take a different tact to do the things I want to do. And he said, I had to become aware of the additional gifts of the loss of sight. And I'm asking, what do you mean the additional gifts? He said, it heightened my other senses. What I came to rely on and what ultimately became the foundation of building this business was my instinct. I had to learn to trust myself. I didn't do it when I had sight. I had to learn that when I lost my sight. If I can share anything with anybody, he would say, is understand yourself, the gift inside of you, and learn to trust yourself. And finally, if you come back to the strong why, he said to me, I had to prove my conviction. Because if people not coming on board, if the bank turning me down, if my competitors taking advantage of me, stopped me, knocked me back, and I didn't get up, then I wasn't convicted. My why wasn't strong enough. So these were tests for me. These were test lessons. These were things I had to go through to make sure I was congruent on what I really wanted. And I decided, I'm going to have to build this one brick at a time, one hire at a time, one tour at a time, and ultimately people will see through my perseverance, my approach, my conviction that I'm not going away. I'm in this to play, and that was a gift.
After losing my sight, I must say that, I became a lot more focused, maybe because I don't see visually, but my mind has become more focused. And that's clear to people. to staff or to other people who work with me, for example. So I just see, yeah, that's a blessing. Yeah, and another experience is after I lost my sight, I became more balanced too. I learned how to shut my mouth where I shouldn't open my mouth, especially with my wife. Of course, my age is getting older and I'm becoming more mature, but I realized that it was really the skill that I had, after, attribute that I had after I lost my sight. I said, I just see, in a way that I see life is simpler, I think, in a way. I just say, everybody says, every day we get up in the morning and, and life is gifted, So I think, why do we have to make a big deal about this and that? Yes, in business, you have the right to make your own decision. Nobody can stop you about that, but you don't need to be too emotional about things in business and in life. So I must say that I've learned a lot after losing my sight. So I control myself more. So my wife, sometimes she says, "Oh, you are a monk. You should go to the temple," because she can yell at me, she can make me angry, but I try not to argue back or So no, I think I think everybody can be trained on that. So I think it's important. So I think that's important in business too, because with the people management, that it's critical to find a balance in order to to manage people properly.
What comes from this excerpt of John's story is the power of focus. He said to me, and it may not become clear by virtue of what you saw, but let me share. He said it's an illusion to multitask. Now, many of us think we can keep multiple plates spinning, do several things simultaneously, and that we'd be productive. He said, and actually the research supports it, there is no ability to multitask. We can switch from one to the other. But by the time we seek to recover, time is lost. Hence, he talks about the power of focus. He said to me, his life, like his business, his relationships, it's about building foundation constantly. It's having the strength and the courage to go deep. Go deep on yourself, go deep on your business, go deep on your relationships. He said that's where the rich soil of life is. He said you can only grow as high as the depth of your foundation. He said, I constantly have to go deep to make sure I'm developing myself to build, not for myself, but for my family, for my community, for my business, and for the others that I serve, who I want to be recipients of my gift. And lastly, he talked about balance. And in the work I do and what he shared is, I think there's also an additional illusion that there is such a thing as balance. To me, one of the most powerful definitions of balance is the ability to apply the proper amount of energy and focus on a priority when it's needed, as it's needed, and no more. And then, of course, that energy gets shifted in another direction if that priority takes precedence. Take these lessons, use these lessons, open these gifts, use them for yourself, give them away. There's no downside, only upside to what you can see.
In the fields of observation, chance favors only the prepared mind.
I admire about John his amazing resilience. For him, setbacks are a springboard. And we've talked a little bit about the tour business, and that's a fascinating business that's now global, if you will, not just Southeast Asia. He's also built a cruise line. Now, this cruise ship or set of ships goes through Vietnam, as well as now he's in Myanmar, what used to be known as Burma, one of the first companies to get there and create a new entrepreneurial opportunity to attract global tourists. Unbelievable how this man thrives where most of us would likely, I have to say, I question myself, shut down. And the thing about John, he's not done. There's more gifts to unwrap.
Yeah, being in Vietnam and, Ha Long Bay at that time, I only saw the date boats going out in Ha Long Bay. So I saw the opportunity of doing an overnight cruise in Ha Long Bay. So at that time, the trend was At that time, the itinerary was that people only spend the night onshore at different hotels in Halong Bay, and they did, the day boat out in order to see the spectacular bay, but they came back to shore in order to spend the night. So I saw the opportunity, so I started to build the first high-end boat they call traditional junk. The first one was called Ginger, only 10 cabins. But the moment that I think, we launched it, it was so like hotcake. And the return on investment was less than 2 years. So, and then, in fact that, I have to be proud because I think I really started the trend. So the moment I did that, I think, many people follow. Of course, that we built the second and the third one, but many people follow. And today you can see in Halong Bay, the hotels, onshore are almost empty. So, most tourists spend, overnight on traditional junks or boat out in the bay. So in 2003, I saw that opportunity, and then I started with Ginger. So I launched the Ginger with 10 cabins in 2005. And of course, it was so, popular, so I decided to build another one. I didn't have a lot of money then, but, build the second one, which was larger, the Jasmine, with 24 cabins. So I started the Jasmine in 2007 and launched it in 2009. And then the third one was the Violet, launched in 2010 with, it's a boutique high-end vessel of only 6 cabins. So, and the same experience that I saw on the Mekong River between southern Vietnam and Cambodia, Mekong was really quiet. I look back the history and saw the French explore the Mekong. So I looked at all the rivers in the world and I saw river cruising. So I also started, to build the first cruise on the Mekong, the river cruise. It's called Javaman. It's a Cambodian name. It's a God King of Cambodia, 27 cabins. And since the French explored the Mekong, so I named it, I decided after the French colonial style. And it was so popular again, I decided to build the second one called Jahan after the British colonial style with 26 cabins. So on the Mekong, we have 2 boats now. And after we built the first and in the middle of the second, many other companies follow as well. So, so that's the cruise company. It's called Heritage Line, and the Heritage Line today also has around 280 staff under full-time payroll.
A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are for.
The many takeaways I get from John is the gift in the power of trust. For many of us, it's difficult to trust. John taught me the power of trust. I had to trust John. Years ago, I was in charge of putting together this retreat where 50 executives from Southern California would trust me to lead them on a path, a journey, a voyage, someplace perhaps they'd never seen, to have experiences perhaps they'd never had, to bond and to have some educational stimulation and experiences unique to this particular group. Well, I needed a travel partner on the ground. I had chosen Vietnam based on some past business experience. I had chosen an individual to lead, and John appeared in my life. A series of phone calls. I understand you're coming across, would love to have your business. I did what I could to deflect John. I had already made some choices, but he was so persistent, I thought, I have to meet this individual. Ultimately, I chose John to lead the retreat. Now, I had to get over the story in my mind. How in the world could I have a blind man lead 50 people who were going to be evaluating me on the success of this trip? I had to change that story because John to me was qualified, John to me was trustworthy, John to me had experience, and it's a guy from my instinct I felt could make a fundamental difference in my life and in everyone's life. I'll never regret that decision, the gift of this particular friendship, and the power to share this journey with you, which shows up in Unopened Gifts.
When I met Mac, for example, when I met different groups say, how could you know this hotel is better than the other hotel? Right? So I have to find other resources. I have to base on the people that I trust. I have to base myself on the feedback that I've received from people. I have to ask people questions that I really want to know to be sure that I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I have to find a way to overcome the obstacle. So it's still happening today. It's not over yet. But I think it's just a different life. That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
You know, for many of us who have busy lives, we tend to do things by ourselves. Sometimes we think if we want to go fast, we have to do it by ourselves. John doesn't have that luxury. As a matter of fact, what John says, it's not about going fast in life, it's about going far. And the way you go far is with others. And the way those others help you get far is through trust. John taught me, reinforced by what had to happen in his life for him to be successful, is that one has to develop, or gets to develop, a circle of trust. And inside that circle of trust are the key people in your life who are going to make a fundamental difference to you raising your game, professionally, personally, family, spiritually, your health. It's all about who you surround yourself with. Those people cannot enter your circle unless you develop a sense of trust. John reinforced time and again, you need other people to go far in life.
God blessed me by giving me, my brain, my mind. I think that's my today gift, and I believe that's my future gift. Yeah, I really want to feel that I believe in myself. God gives me the brain that I hope I will maximize using it, by doing what I would like to do in life. And at this point in time, apart from the business, I'm also doing other charity projects. I'm helping out a number of blind associations. That can be my future gift. So I hope to give back more on the personal level. So I enjoy doing that as well. So I hope, I don't have any specific plan. In the business, yes, but I that's not my personal goal. To be honest with you, yes, I continue to create new projects. Of course, I think about business, Mac, but I think that I don't have any specific plan, like corporate people. I don't have, next year I have to do 5 boats here or 2 boats there. I don't have that in the back of my head. Yes, in front of the team, yes, well, we do put together a business plan to grow, to sustain, to, the business. But on the personal level, that's not my personal goal. My brain is my future gift. It gives me fantastic challenges and opportunities to explore things in life. So again, going back to where I came from after losing my sight, I just felt a lot more established by myself. I felt a lot more confident in myself. I just want to face challenges. And a lot of people don't. People, this guy is leaving, or this guy, is leaving company and he's killing the entire company. This guy, I didn't tell you the story, this guy, he left the company. And, he was director of sales and marketing, and he took the whole database and he shut down the whole server, and he spread the news in the region that, Trails Indochina was about to file bankruptcy. And, and he did terrible thing to the company. And a number of hotels like Sofitel Metropole, for example, Raffles and Simrep, they came to me and cut my credit. You had to pay, from now on, you had to pay everything up front for the next, 6-12 months. I said, okay. But, those challenges were really huge. A number of staff in the organization left because of that rumor. because he was in Vietnam and Cambodia, staff didn't have a really clear understanding about everything. But anyway, that to cut the story short, it was a huge challenge in business. Yeah, and that is one of the examples. But I had to deal with it. I had to get over it, and life is back to normal.
Now, by now, you may have heard us say a few times, trust. And the gift of trust is one of the greatest gifts that John gives us. And trust, as he describes it, while important, has to start with self. He said, I had to learn to trust myself before I was ever able to trust anybody else. He also reminds us, and he says to me, that in his view, his life, it's about problem solving. He says 90% of his time is spent solving problems. So what's wrong is always available. Others will let you down. There'll be setbacks. People will spread rumors about you. From his perspective, that's just another one of the bucket of 90%. He finds a way to push past that to magnify in his life the 10%, things that are working, that create opportunity, that allow him to spread his gifts around the world. John also talks about the power of belief. And he suggests, and I would have to reinforce this, that all of us have beliefs that make up the stories of our lives. The things that we see are magnified by our belief systems. What John will tell us is from time to time you have to ask yourself, do the beliefs I have serve me for where I want to go in my life? Every once in a while, it's important to pull out those beliefs, examine them, and determine if those beliefs are still powering or empowering the journey that we're on. Very strong. And also, what John says to me, and his blindness reinforced this. He said, I have higher level of self-worth since I lost my sight than I ever did in my career prior, when I ever graduated from business school in England, and the other things that I accomplished. I have a stronger sense of self-worth. He said the important thing about that is it leads to a higher level of self-confidence, which leads to conviction, which allows him to have this 90% belief of overcoming obstacles because he trusts himself, he believes in himself, he allows people in the circle, he changes his approach when he has to, and as you heard him say, he's not operating under somebody else's expectations. He has his own, and they're very high. Those ships will come out when he's ready. The next business will develop when he's ready. But when he's ready, watch out. It will be an amazing gift to all of us.
Learning to use the word impossible ought to be done with caution.
When we look at the area of beliefs, beliefs drive actions, and actions lead to results. When we don't like the results that are showing up in our life, the critical thing is to go back to look at the beliefs. Do we hold beliefs that no longer serve us? That's the great question. That's the gift that comes from this part of the program. So take a moment and really think about this. Do you have beliefs that no longer serve you? One of the ways to look at it, go back to the results. Are the results that are showing up in my life what I want or what I don't want? And what is influencing the actions that are coming from those beliefs? It is those beliefs. Many times we hold on to things that we got as children that as we look at life today, they no longer serve us. So listen to John's answer when I pose it to him. John, do you have a belief that no longer serves you? You might be surprised by his answer.
Religion.
Okay, that's a good one.
I don't believe in that anymore as I used to. Yeah.
And what changed?
I think. Yeah, I just I don't believe it exists. That's all. I just see I mean people need to do good things in life and all that. Yes, you do good things and you receive good things, but I think I don't believe in any religion. Yeah, I mean it's I'm not against that. People have their own belief, but I think I don't. Personally speaking, I don't believe in religion because I just see. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of charity work as well myself, so I believe in real life, what I can do, what I cannot do, and why I do it, why I cannot do it. So yeah, I think that's what I believe in. What I can touch, I can feel, I can smell, I can make people happy. Yeah, that's what yeah.
You know, I would use this word when I think of this gift that John gave us, power. And what John shares here, from my perspective that I hope you get, is the gift of power. The gift of power that you possess. For me, and having spent a lot of time with John on where the power source is in life, he says to me, and I've seen myself, how frequently we give our power away to external sources to validate us, to affirm us, to tell us what to do. It just so happens that one of those cases where John had given away his power, as he expresses it, was there in the area of religion. What John realized is how many places in life he was giving away his power. So while he references religion here, it was in a myriad of areas that he had given away his power and looked for others to validate who he was. He said to me, I found the strength to take back my power. And once I took back my power, I recognized the depth of the resources inside of me to do the things I needed to do, that I wanted to do, to illustrate my gifts and to make a difference in the world. You know, sometimes in life we need reminders. And John's lessons are, in some ways, great reminders for us. The thing I think you're getting ready to see from John is a reminder. Know where you're going. As you heard me say and you hear from him, is know why. Again, if you have a strong enough why, you can do anything. The tests in life that come by virtue of obstacles and challenges are purely there to test your commitment. The way you pass those tests is to move on. John's going to talk about moving on.
I fail on a number of occasions, whatever, but I think, yeah, it's a learning experience. Yeah, it's a learning experience. So I think, yeah, determination is critical as well. Yeah. Well, life is short, so my advice is to try it out. Yeah, number one. Number two, I think determination. If you fail, maybe, you know, the person is not successful right away, but if the person is able to be determined and keep, you know, finding solutions financially, operationally, the person will be successful. So don't give up too quickly. That's my number two. And number three, yeah, you keep trying, and you know, and success will come one way or another. You know, success doesn't, you know, it's not measured by financial side only. That's how I see it. Yeah, I just see people need to be trying what they want to do in life. If they stay in the box and do one job, you know, that's fine too. But I think, well, people tend to regret, and everybody only has one life. So you need to try, and try hard. Yeah, from all corners, from small little tasks to big projects.
You know, we all get a life assignment, and perhaps it's not clear to us what that life assignment is, and we're given a gift, and maybe that's not clear to us. But look at John's loss as the potential for your gain. Instinctively, you know what you're really good at. Perhaps you know, and maybe you're afraid to recognize, what you're best in the world at or why you're here. If we only get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we're not really clear on how many of those that we get, we have to play to win, not play not to lose. Find that gift, use that gift, give that gift away. That's why you were created, that's why you're here, and I believe that's why you tuned into the program. Life is about giving it away. Life's about learning. Life's about growth. John is an amazing man who had an amazing loss, but inspires us to recognize that his loss can be a gain, that most of us are more well-equipped, at least have our vision to do the things that we're meant to do in life. Now's your time. Open the gift, because you don't know how much time you have. Play to win. That's why you're here. Thanks for tuning in.